Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Town of Halifax Board of Selectmen's meeting for our extraordinary meeting. It is Thursday, February the 4th. And what we try to do on these off-day meetings is to just kind of get an update on where we are with
Okay, excuse me. We were going to get boomed. We were going to get bombed.
Yeah. What's going on?
We were going to get Zoom bombed.
Oh.
It was obvious. I'm sorry to put it this way. If someone posts saying, "I'm Grandma Boobs," then
Yeah.
so we will continue our meeting. We just can't do Zoom, obviously. I'm going to have to talk to Zoom. Not your.
Yeah, no. I understand why we had the other system. We tried it with the password. We got to go back to the way you were doing it.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me see if I can change. Give me a minute.
Because Barbara and Sandy.
Yeah, I understand.
Sue were on.
I'm going to edit.
There were all sorts of weird names that popped up there.
Yeah. Well, when I saw that face, I said, "That is not anybody I know. There's no way on earth I know this person." No. Okay. So we're going to start. We're going to
Can I
restart.
look? Maybe I can recognize it.
Do you want me to log back in? So you can
Those
see?
conferences out in Western Mass you're talking about? I'm restarting Zoom. I'm going to and it's set up for the waiting room in this case. Ed Scott. We know Ed Scott. Susan Wallace, we know.
Charlie, did you use the same meeting ID?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same meeting ID. Gordon Andrews, yeah. I know that person. 339, I recognize that phone number.
Okay.
Sandra.
On mute. Gonna turn on video. Okay.
Sandy's connecting to audio for just
Yep.
with another half minute. Andrew Early. What I'd like to know, my problem with this is, I don't know,
So should we repost to the
no, but in the sense of, okay, I throw people in the waiting room. How do I know they're legit?
if we post back out to Barbara if you create a new ID, new meeting ID?
Yeah, but I already have Sandy and Susan and such in this.
All right. I don't know.
Well, this person dropped out anyway. Okay, so sorry about that, folks. We were getting Zoom bombed, and we had to disconnect the Zoom and restart with the waiting room. So my apologies, Mr. Chairman, if you want to take it from there, and I'll keep an eye out for the waiting room.
All right, so I think we left off with basically an introduction as to what we were doing here today. And as we typically do in these meetings, we start off by getting an update with where we may or may not be with the COVID epidemic. And typically we like to start with our health agent, Bob Valerie. If we can get any kind of an update that you may have, that would be appreciated.
Sure. Charlie,
Bob's really going to need to get right in that mic.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, people
Okay.
shaking their head, yes.
Very good. So, Charlie posts our daily numbers, on positive cases. So what I've been trying to gear in on is how our 2-week run goes as far as positive cases versus how many people were tested. So we had 763 people test last week, with 65 testing positive, which puts us at 8.52. So we're not gaining, but we're not dropping as well as we could be. Because the state has seen a decrease And on Monday, February 8th at 5 a.m., they're going to be dropping the 25% capacities, and it will go back to the 40% capacity. Which sort of leads me into the reason that we did have a high run rate right after the holidays was because of gatherings. Sunday, Super Bowl, I'm just saying that that's a prime time for gatherings. One where, it's great to watch the game. However, they suggested be with family members, the same as any other gathering, not yelling and screaming, keeping your masks on, no sharing of foods. So I hate to see us take a step backwards over, one day of fun, so to speak. So I would urge our residents to think twice about their Super Bowl plans. And from there, Chief and I have been working on vaccinations. So, do you want to say anything towards those?
Sure. So a couple things, we've been continuing to do the testing for town employees at the school and at town hall every Wednesday. We still get a decent turnout for that. We've kind of switched gears a little bit towards focusing on vaccinations. Obviously, all the first responders were done 2 weeks ago. It's going to be almost 4 weeks now since we started first responders. Phase 2 started on February 1st. As of today, we'll have vaccinated roughly 125 seniors over the age of 75. We're running a clinic right now, and then we have another clinic scheduled for next Wednesday that we hope to do at least 100 next Wednesday. So we're not getting the quantity of vaccine that we like, but we're much more fortunate than other communities that aren't getting any, that haven't been able to secure any vaccine at all. Just want to recognize the work that both Kendra Kelly and Captain Cunningham have done in securing the vaccine and setting these up. Working with Bob, it's been a tremendous amount, and they've done such a great job. And also recognize the Council on Aging staff. They've been handling all our appointments. So Kendra sets up the clinics in Prep Mod. The council, and what we did was we had the Council on Aging sent out a robocall for all seniors over the age of 75. Seniors call them, they take their information, and then they do all the online scheduling for the seniors and take care of it on that. And so taking that portion of it is a big burden off of the fire department. So on the reimbursement front, FEMA is now paying 100% for vaccination, for the vaccination activities. So, we have guys on overtime doing the vaccines, but we anticipate that will be fully reimbursed at 100% for that. As long as we keep we can do multiple submissions, but as long as we keep our individual submissions under $30,000, the turnaround time and the paperwork required will be much less. So, everything's going positive. I did meet with I went to the high school on Friday, met with the administrative staff over at Silver Lake, with the fire chiefs from Plimpton and Kingston to talk about vaccinations for the teachers. Hopefully, once we get to that portion of phase 2, we'll be able to get more of a quantity of vaccine, and we'll be able to do each school independently. And the other thing that was discussed was opening up a mass vaccination site at Silver Lake High School. The Moderna has been in very short supply. Everyone's seen it on the news. It's just not available. Working with Dr. Muse, the 12 towns that have been working with Dr. Muse put in a collective order for Pfizer vaccine, which is a little more difficult to work with. However, the hospital has committed to storing all that vaccine for us. So once we take it out of the freezer, we have a little bit of a defrost time, but then it has to be administered within 6 hours. You know, we don't have any ability to freeze it locally. So logistically, it's a little bit more of a problem. But we get lots of, up to, you know, one lot of Pfizer vaccine is 975 doses. So that's a weekend clinic that we could do at the high school for the three towns. We may be able to get more than that. Hopefully. The other asset, I know the Board of Health had talked about trying to get volunteers. We had a meeting with the representative from the Medical Reserve Corps for the state, and they've assured us that, well, we're part of the Middleborough Medical Reserve Corps. Kingston's part of the Plymouth Medical Reserve Corps, but after speaking with the person that manages all of them throughout the state, she said it wouldn't be a problem at all. If we tell them how much vaccine we have for a mass vaccination site, if we're able to get it set up at the high school, they will give us all the volunteers. They have over 400 volunteers that are anxious and ready to go, including pharmacists that would be helpful in handling the Pfizer vaccine. So we're confident that if we can get the vaccine, logistically the rest of the things are already in place. We've toured the site. We had two planners, I believe, from DPH with us on Friday. The setup in the gymnasium at the high school would work out terrific with two different, utilizing two different exit and an entrance. At this point, just, all weighs on how much vaccine will be available.
You're gonna have room for the people to sit down for 15 minutes or whatever time?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of room. They can actually they have a divider that will divide the gym in half. So I think depending on the quantity, we'll have multiple vaccination stations, registration tables, and that's the other thing. The Medical Reserve Corps will help with that. So they have pharmacists, they have medical professionals that can give the vaccine. All three fire departments have paramedics that they would use to give vaccinations, and they also have clerical help that will help with the registration of people. So,
Sounds good.
yeah.
Terrific, thank you. Sounds like we've made some progress and have got some plans in place. It's a wonderful thing.
Chief, with the eligibility, we're doing the 75 and up right now. Is Silver Lake a 75 and up project, or is it, we're gonna get through this first phase and then the next phase would be the Silver Lake phase? And then are we just talking the three towns, or are we talking?
So we were focused on the three towns.
Yep.
Interestingly, by the end of next week, we potentially could be through most of the 75 group in Halifax, but other towns aren't even close to that. So I don't know when it will go to the next level.
Okay.
And I don't know what quantity of vaccine we're going to get. So, I think that everyone kind of feels the same way. If you give us the vaccine, we'll find people to give it to. That's not the problem. So even if we offered it up to people outside of the three communities, we would still, I think, commit to getting people vaccinated, because that's the important thing. So,
And one of the things too, when you try to, if you tried to sign up online right now, if you're 65 and over, you can't even sign up, because we're still in the phase 1. So even when Halifax were to finish, the first round of people, not so much phase 1, the 75 and olders, we're not supposed to start 65 and over until the state says it's okay. We've got almost all of our 75 and olders done. Because if we were already to jump into 65 and older, then our next door neighbor town might still have a large population of 75 and over that aren't able to get the vaccine. I mean, they're first in line. And then second in line.
Well, would it make sense then if we were ready at Silver Lake to say, fine, we'll get, because we want to get the 65 and up in, that we say, fine, but either we say we're going to get 75 until we run out of 75s, or get some sort of waiver from the state that says, we're opening it up, yes, 75 is as preference, but, we have slots for 65.
Right.
the whole system has been evolving. So, the first couple of weeks, it was like Bob said, now that it's definitely a process that's very fluid. So how they want us to do that, we're not 100% sure yet. So whether they'd want us to keep doing 75s in our area or allow us to go out to the 65s, we don't know.
Right.
And if we were, there was still some left in a vial, we would hit whoever we could.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not
That's
throwing
a whole
away.
different
No, I
scenario.
understand that. We're not throwing away any vaccine. We have cancellations last minute, that type of thing. We're giving it to people.
As the
so.
song goes, I'm not going to throw away my shot.
Right.
Right, but we can't just start a new batch,
Right.
No.
Is Pfizer also a two-shot process?
It is. It's the difference with the Pfizer is that it's obviously the temperature storage is different, but it's a 21-day separation between the first and second injection versus 28 days with Moderna. The effectiveness of it is 95. I was just looking at this morning. It's 95 for Pfizer, 94.5 for Moderna. Now the one-shot vaccines, the AstraZeneca, the Johnson & Johnson, those have not been approved yet. They're one shot, but the effectiveness of it is down into the high 60s, I believe. So there's a difference with it. We'll take whatever
Which you can get.
whatever we can get, But yeah, that's the main difference is the 21 days versus the 28 days.
And in terms of the Moderna, that second shot is the same as the first, correct? Is there
Yeah, it's the exact same.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. They say the body will react to it a little more aggressively. That's why people get. It's common to see them get a fever and to get the chills, the body ache, all those flu-like symptoms
yeah.
after the second one because you've already been kind of exposed to it, and that's the same with Pfizer. It's the same with Pfizer. So.
Yep.
But overall, from people I've talked to, a lot of people in the healthcare profession have already gotten their second injection, and I haven't heard any horror stories about it. So
Well, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you to everybody, including everybody who's been involved in trying to organize all of this, Council on Aging included, and the staff at the fire department and the health department, and everyone who's participated in this. And hopefully we can move forward as quickly as possible and protect as many people as possible.
Yeah.
It really shows what could happen when you communicate with each other and we're willing to work together, even though you might be on opposite ends of the subject. So thank you.
I want to just echo everyone saying thank you. You guys are well above, what we see in surrounding towns right now. You guys, just the teamwork you guys have shown has put us and our residents in a really good position. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Just a couple, Bob, when the governor was mentioning the increase in the capacity, did he mention gatherings at all?
Yes. Quoted here. The gatherings limit will stay at 10 indoors and 25 outdoors.
Okay.
Even though it's going up to
But
40%.
the 10 indoors at a Super Bowl party, I still think it's a high risk factor.
Well, usually
It's my professional opinion.
Isn't that a contradiction? If he's going from 25% to 40%, he's still holding at 10. Right, 40 is bigger than 25, or there would be more people.
Well, this is a tough thing. I mean, 10 people in this room is one thing. 10 people in my living room would be something totally different.
Well, yeah,
Depending on the size of the living room.
Well, my living room isn't this big, let me put it that way.
well, they basically say in the employee situation, a limit of 5 people per 1,000 square feet. But then it's okay in a gathering order for, it seems a little inconsistent.
Well, I think as you pointed out, Bob, for other changes, they're also making decisions, say, which ones are people actually have a chance of following, and which, if we try and impose this some way, we're just gonna look like silly season, and they're gonna try and win on the things they can win and not try and push the things they're gonna lose out on.
Right.
I got nothing else.
Anybody else? Anything? No? Very good. We'll we'll move along.
Legal, no. Green Earth Cannabis, no. GATRA, no. Silver Lake School Committee vacancy, we're waiting for the talent bank forms, and then I need to set up a date for interviews, and I would hope maybe a decision that night. I still need to reach out to the folks who had applied for the Halifax Elementary slot. That hadn't gotten done, just it fell through the cracks on the to-do list. Zoning, just so the board's aware, FEMA's requiring some changes in the floodplain law again. I'll bring this to the board on Tuesday, and then my intention, there are technical changes, like which maps are being used and some language changes, but eventually they need to be submitted to the planning board for a public hearing, then brought to town meeting in May. Cledge Lumber, my understanding is that the owner's engineer will be filing a new site plan with the planning board in the near future, so that will move along, I hope, that way. On the regional recycling processing RFP, the deadline, just for the board's knowledge, is February 10th, day after the board's meeting, and Susan Johnson will keep me apprised on that. Wage and personnel, the public hearing was held with the Finance Committee, not last night, but the previous Monday. We have the following things to consider. Mind you, the Selectmen and the Finance Committee can still add to this list. In the bylaw, it's specific. These are the proposals that came in by the deadline. The Finance Committee and the Selectmen can also submit additional proposals, even if they didn't bring them in before January 11th. So the ones are move for a step increase for the Board of Health agent to step 4 instead of step 2 on July 1st. Evaluate pay scales and steps for grades 6 and 7 positions. Minimum wage problem in that the minimum wage continues to rise and is putting pressure on our low end of the grade scale. In essence, it will come at some point that those low paid positions will be the equivalent of a minimum wage position, and they're not. They do require more responsibility and such than a minimum wage position. We have discontinuities in grades 11 through 14. So for right now, for instance, the lieutenant or deputy police chief is listed at a higher grade than the police chief. Of course, the police chief has a separate personnel contract, but technically it's a grade 12 and the lieutenant is a grade 14. So we've got to do some moving around of things, or add new grades or do ungraded positions or something up at the top of the list. Proposed uniform allowance of $300 for the Board of Health agent, and then also the fire chief had brought in some technical changes on the benefits, I believe, for the call firefighters. Right. I need some direction from the board. We're about a month and a half to 2 months out before we need to make decisions on the wage and personnel amendments. I'm happy to do whatever research is necessary for you all and the Finance Committee, both on the proposals that are listed. So for instance, go to the comparable towns, get pay scales and such, but also if there are other matters under the wage and personnel bylaw that you want considered earlier, telling me earlier is easier than telling me later, or telling whoever you want to get the work done. It's easier if it's done earlier rather than later, rather than to the last minute. We're not going to be, my hope is COVID or no COVID, we're having our town meeting on May 10th. So unlike last year, we're not going to be able to just continue to delay through the summer. So this work is going to get done this spring. I didn't know if you want to provide me with any direction today as to what preliminary steps or anything else at this point.
Well, I speaking for myself, I think the easy answer to that is in the preliminary steps is to do some research with the comparative towns, job descriptions, that type of thing, so that we can make some kind of a rational decision here. Anybody else have anything to add or offer at this point? And we still have time to add things, but... Yeah.
So for A,
Yep.
is that a vote of wage and personnel that goes to town meeting, or is
The way I read it, yes.
Okay. Because I didn't know before what happened when somebody came in that had experience that got a different step, and because of the way we were last year.
Right.
But
And
that's
so
when
what
they started.
I think what happened was, we set a certain budget with the assumption it was going to be a step 1 position. The Board of Health hired someone who was, more experienced than that, and they'd like to see that experience compensated with a move from step 2 on July 1st instead to step 4.
Okay.
It could, but it also requires a change in the budget, so one way or the other, it needs to go to town meeting.
I just didn't know if the step needed to go to town meeting or if it was just the budget that needed.
Well, it's something we can talk about during the next couple of months to figure out. One way or the other, town meeting is going to have to approve it. Because if town meeting doesn't approve the necessary money,
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'll move ahead on that. Recycling abatement, the board has a Bill 788 from fiscal '23 to fiscal 2020. Let's see if I can find that. Did you, oh, you want to pass it down? Okay, you already have it. The resident said that back when the resident moved here, she sent the initial bill back to the collector's office saying, I don't use the service, I shouldn't have to pay this bill, but they never filed for an abatement, and then in subsequent years never did anything at all. My understanding is probably she got one of those pink bills that had the whole list of backlog of unpaid abatements, and now she's asking for abatements for all those years. I did talk with, I suspect there's going to be an immediate question, what's the recycling committee doing? I did see Sandy Nolan earlier today. They did meet. They've taken my suggestion, which is basically we need to divide the recycling and solid waste budget into two areas. One that's going to be covered under raise and appropriate. The second is going to be covered under the whatever fees we're generating. I did emphasize with Sandy that the board, at least, and if I didn't provide the right direction, tell me, but the board's very interested in eliminating the abatement process, whether that means that curbside recycling becomes part of raise and appropriate, or we do something else, whatever it is, that the logistics and the amount of stress for everybody dealing with the abatements, the board would like to see that go bye-bye. What the result would be, we'll have to figure out, but they've taken the concept and they're working on that. But I guess there's this particular issue right now.
Well, this isn't a lot different than some of the other requests that have come before us. Pam, have you been able to verify whether you had any paperwork from them or not?
I did look to see if she considered it, after the fact, after the deadline, there's nothing.
You haven't been able to find any abatements after the fact?
And she didn't have a letter from the hauler sent to us, to the fact that she was using the private hauler?
What you see is what we got. That's it.
I don't know how we can vary from what we've been doing, but I'm open to any comments.
It's plainly written on the bill itself that if you were using it as a hauler, that you can apply for an abatement, right?
Yes. Well, it certainly says you can apply for an abatement. I don't know that we go into all the reasons why. For instance, if there's no one living at a home and they can prove it, that's a reason that the board's abated. If we've made an error in the number of units at a particular address, the board will abate it, as long as we can verify that. So it doesn't say on the bill, here are all the reasons that you can abate, but it does say that you can file for an abatement.
But she doesn't have any backup information from the hauler. That's what concerns me, stating in fact they are doing private service. I'm not doubting the word, but we need something more than this.
We can put this off. I don't know that we're going to get any information that's really going to help us, but we can put this off to a future meeting, and if we want to do a little more research. But according to our
It just bothers
admin,
me that it's that many years and no paper trail.
well, that's apparently the case. Our Pam has not been able to find any abatement requests or any letters from any haulers. This person did pay the 21 bill, is that correct?
Yes, they did.
But this is 13 through 20.
We didn't abate other people's that were this long.
No, we didn't. That's why,
And we got numerous other people that made the same argument that they don't use the services and we don't need to go down that route, but
I can't see how we deviate from what we've been doing.
You want a motion?
Yes, please.
I move that we not allow the abatement for bill number 788.
Can I get a second? If not, I'll second it. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All those opposed? That sounds unanimous.
it was.
I'm sorry, Gordon, was that an
Did you say
abstain or
something?
no?
It was unanimous.
Oh, it was, okay.
Okay, snow day, actually snow hour for Monday, February 1st from 3 to 4 for the Council on Aging and Town Hall. The board needs to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Bud's Goods, site plan special permit has been filed with the planning board. The hearing is on March 4th at 7:05 PM. I don't know if the board wants to submit any comments to the planning board on the site plan and special permit, whether it's from individual members or whether it's the board as a whole. The paper file sitting here, will keep it available in the Selectmen's office for the board to look at if it wants. The digital copy is also online. I'll bring this back to the board on 2/23, so not the meeting this coming Tuesday, but the meeting just before the hearing on March 4th.
For that property, I was doing some research that in the 1990s, that there was issues with the land down off of River Street with the Department of Justice, that Cumberland Farms was sued.
Yeah, I
In the 90s.
vaguely remember something like that.
Yeah, they had to do some replicating down there because they had done some disturbing of the wetlands without permission.
Is that land that they're looking to use part of the land that was not supposed to be developed after the fact? Do we know which section of Halifax was not supposed to be developed?
I can check to see what we've got, because I remember some paperwork coming through, but obviously it's been that long. And if I can't find anything, then maybe I can ask Larry to run a search.
Yeah, that would have to be in the registry of deeds if there was a restriction.
Because there was an article that I found from Middleborough where they were looking to develop, I think it's the northwest end of the field, and there was discussion over whether or not that could be subdivided and built on, so I didn't know if the section of land is able to be used.
Yeah, we can find out.
Okay.
Ambulance abatements, due to inactivity, the fire department's asking, this is payment inactivity, the fire department is asking that the remainder of the bills from 2017 be abated in the tune of $575,182.08. So what has happened, and Jason can confirm, basically obviously the runs happened, notices were sent out. In most cases, these people didn't have insurance, and
Or the Medicare patients that only pay a certain
portion.
amount, yeah.
And so, but bills are sent out, I think 2 or 3 times, and then we stop doing that, and at some point, we give up on trying to collect that money.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cronin Oil flammable storage license, we did get an additional letter of support from Christine and Joseph Basile. There's no action to take, but it should be included in the hearing documents. As far as I know, we'll just wait until the applicant comes back and asks for the board to resume the hearing. As far as I know right now, there's nothing officially before either the ZBA or the planning board at this point. Pasture Lane, planning boards continue to work with town council on the possibility of obtaining a bond or deposit for the road work in return for releasing the building permit. Basically, right now, that's what's holding up, the trade-off has always been, get the road work done or release the building permit. Well, the applicant would like to, in essence, pay a bond or the actual cash deposit so that we can guarantee the road work will be done even if the building permit's issued. So I know that the planning board's working with Larry on some type of agreement to do that and what the appropriate amount would be.
So is the person denied the building permit right now?
I don't know whether I believe it's been applied for. I would have to check with Rob to see whether it's been an official denial.
Okay,
Their septic plan has been approved.
okay.
Signature authority, these are the town account forms, which are from the highway and cemetery, which is, of course, Steve Haywood. The board needs to sign off, and that's the entire board.
Do we need a vote first?
No, I don't think, we don't vote on those. The board's just simply acknowledging that, who has signature authority. Federal COVID leave, obviously, is still expired, just making sure there's no interest in extending it by the town on its own. National Grid on delivery prices, there's been a lot of posts about the cost of electricity. I really think it's two areas. One is, as I mentioned, the delivery costs have gone up considerably during the last 6 years, much faster than inflation. There should have been there's no sudden jump in the last few months. A lot of people, in essence, are saying, well, wait a minute, I can't be using that much electricity. There's no way I can be using that. I can't go, we don't have the capacity to work with individuals. I think there were some good suggestions that were made, find a qualified electrician. There were devices that can help determine how much each of the devices in your home is using, so you can try and narrow down what devices might be generating the usage. I am checking with the AG's office on the delivery, simply because it's regulated and the prices have gone up considerably faster than inflation. So I'm hoping to hear back the first half of this month. We'll see. But I don't have any other ideas at this point. The complaints aren't being directly sent to the Board of Selectmen. I'm simply reading them. But I don't know what else the town could be doing on this at that point. Just officially, there's a job opening with the town clerk's office for the administrative assistant or assistant town clerk. As part of the normal procedure now, we get the job postings. Capital Plan Committee, I need the board to designate someone as the board's representative, whether it's a board member or someone else. Cindy needs to get the committee back up and running for this season, and she needs herself. There's a finance committee member, there's a member from the Board of Selectmen, and then there's two at large, one of which is filled, one isn't, but she's looking to have somebody from the board fill that seat or have the board designate somebody.
I'd be willing to serve on that if anybody else is interested.
You're fine, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Okay.
opposed?
I will tell Ms. Nolan. Area 58, I'm going to probably have Rich Goulart come in on the 8th, or the 9th. He's going to want to talk about the new contract and other aspects of, I guess, the Comcast negotiations with Carver and such. I'll have him come in. Let's see, regional dispatch assessment, we did get good news today that the assessment is not going up. It's going to stay at the 150,000 instead of going to 200,000, so that's good news. Now, mind you, FY23 might be a different story, but
Right now,
I'll take
it's
what the
good.
news I can get right now. Regional dispatch, so we talked Zoning Economic Development Act. I'll bring the board up to date about the changes that were enacted as part of in Chapter 40A, and whether we're going to need to make changes in the town zoning bylaws as a result. That's from the Economic Development Bill that was approved by the legislature and the governor in the last few weeks. Just a reminder, Traffic Safety Committee meetings on Monday, February 8th at 10 in the Great Hall. They'll talk about school traffic signals, the Route 36 thickly settled areas, and other items. And we received town bank forms from Joseph Franchano for Finance Committee and Youth and Rec. They've been sent out. I believe he's now got an interview with the FinCom on Monday, and I may try and get something set up for him on Tuesday the 9th. Colleen Fielmeyer for Cultural Council, I'll bring her nomination up to the board next Tuesday. Was on the agenda officially, so I'll wait until Tuesday. That would get us a fourth member. We need 5 members on the Cultural Council to actually approve the grants. And then Summer Schmeling had indicated interest in serving on the Silver Lake School Committee, so we'll have her on the list for consideration when the board and Gordon were wearing both hats, and Paula Hatch, when we set up that meeting. And that's what I've got.
Do you want Paula at that meeting to set up the interviews? Or do you want me to just get times from her?
Yeah, I need to contact the, I need to sorry, go ahead.
Lisa said if she was gonna come to our next meeting, I'm gonna make sure I posted this, so.
Yeah, I'm not, because I need to contact the folks who I never got to the Halifax Elementary School applicants.
Okay,
So I want to give
so
them,
she doesn't have to come.
no, I'm not planning on trying to do this on the 9th.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else they want to bring up? Chief? Oh, I thought I saw you.
I do have something that you forgot to mention. So, the fireworks committee reached out to me. They're looking for some guidance on how and if they should proceed. So I said that I would bring it to, I wasn't prepared when they asked me to quit. It was just 2 days ago, so I said I would bring it to this meeting and try to get back to them with some form of guidance.
Yeah, I hosted the meeting, so it's sort of a gray area. They're hoping to do it July 3rd, and some folks have already canceled their fireworks, some are still considering it. I know some organizations with big events, for instance, I just got a note from the New Bedford Folk Festival, not doing it, Scene 22. The logistics for them, for Halifax Fireworks, really is crucial in two things. One is the money raising.
Right.
They don't have enough money right now to run the fireworks. Forget about doing anything else, just the fireworks. They really don't want to go knocking on businesses' doors, given the pandemic, given the economy. They don't think it's fair to the small businesses in town. They are thinking that if there was interest, at least still leaving the possibility of having fireworks this year, that they would do some sort of online fundraiser, whether it's, a thermometer online or something like that, to see if they could raise money sufficient, because I think they said they have about 8,300, they're looking at 13 or something like that for a total. But they do understand that come, let's say, July 3rd, we may not be ready to have even an outdoor gathering that nevertheless is fairly dense in population. But they also, in essence, saying, well, we don't need to make a decision now, today, meaning yesterday, today, February 4th, they were going to regroup and meet the middle of March. But they are looking for guidance as to whether they should even be considering having the fireworks in 2021, or if they should just boot it right now to 2022.
I mean, it's only 5 months away. I mean, even if they were to raise the limit of people that can attend something, we were talking in the thousands at a typical fireworks display. That would
Doesn't
be a
sound
big-
safe to me.
Yeah, that would be.
I just, not to be the party crasher, but, because I love fireworks, but
It just doesn't seem like it's going to come off. I mean, if they want to raise money, of course, as long as they tell people it's either for this year or next year, more likely next year.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things they said is, what happens if we raise money, we don't have any? And the thing is, they'll put a big note that says, look, we may not be doing it this year. Yes, we thank you for your money, but we're not refunding people a donation.
Right.
Because if we have to cancel again, we'll use your money for 2022 if we don't do 2021.
Well, the governor's still saying 25 people at a gathering. I mean, there's no way it's going to be less than 1,500 people out there.
Oh, there'll be more than that.
Oh, no, we're talking, what,
I'm saying
5,000
less.
people maybe? 3,000 to 5,000 people?
Judging the speed, the rollout of the vaccines, I'm not so sure we'll be there by then.
Yeah.
and that is the type of gathering where people are like side by side.
I mean, assuming
Unless they're going
that
to do the fireworks and have somebody videotape it and show it on TV.
Right.
a virtual fireworks display,
That'd be cool.
or Zoom it. Right?
Zoom it.
We'll get Pixar to do a film.
I would think we should advise them not to plan for 2021.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's realistic. I can't see it coming off.
I don't see any major changes between now and 5 months from now, because we're going to continue to have those peaks in the number of people. As long as the testing is going up, there'll be more cases going to be brought forward. So I think at this point, just on the air on caution, that we don't have it, advise them that.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to see him commit to anything in terms of deposits or anything, but,
As much as I like fireworks and stuff, I love it. It's a good family event, but I'm not related to everybody out there.
all righty, anybody else, anything?
Do we have executive session for
No.
police? No?
No, I'll be talking about police on Tuesday.
Okay.
In that case, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Thank you, everybody.